Today, a major announcement in Baldwin County. The county commission approving the last project associated with its award-winning 30 Cubed program.
Okay, our House Sheriff has been following the progress, and he found out the last project with Loxley will be the biggest of them all.
The Baldwin County Commission unanimously agreed Tuesday to partner with Loxley on a major infrastructure improvement project. It will be a $16.3 million project and will pay for the extension of Bedrock Road past Stonebridge Elementary, connecting it to Highway 59. The extension is approximately 2 miles and will create a much-needed connection between Highway 31 and Highway 59.
That will alleviate an approximate 8 to 8.5 mile current route driving up 59, turning on to 31, and then back down 31. So a 2 mile road segment investment will save a tremendous amount of time with the amount of traffic volume we have. Fire, police, and EMS services going to be so much more improved. It'll provide a lot of interconnectivity.
Just over a quarter of that $16 million will be spent right here past the road closed sign near the beginning of the project. That's where a bridge will need to be constructed over the headwaters of Fish River.
This project will involve a nearly 500-foot long bridge over Fish River. That's a very flashy river, so there's a lot of engineering design that goes into that. That's several $1 million just to cross Fish.
Wait a second. Guess who owns the property on both sides of the road?
Who?
This is the Golden Triangle. This is 68 Ventures.
68 Ventures.
We're putting in a boulevard, a bridge, and all this infrastructure at our expense, not the developers.
And he's
River.
telling you this was straight
But
pay.
we're also building a road that's
He makes $200,000
adaptable
a year.
for the
He gets
future,
paid
for
to
future
feed
growth.
those
We're looking
kids.
at long-range planning.
The program dedicated $30 million in county funds to be matched by $30 million in municipal funds to tackle infrastructure and connectivity challenges throughout the county. The goal is to have all projects finished by 2030. By that point, plans will likely already be underway to tie in the connection at Highway 59 to the Loxley Industrial Park and Truck Route 17.
Hey, you know what's on Truck Route 17 right there, Paul?
What?
Come on, guys.
I don't know.
Stillwood Country Club.
Oh.
Got to tie Stillwood
Which has
in
been
this.
booming with new business recently. That new business has played a big role in Loxley being able to pay its $8 million share of this project.
But we've been told it's one of the fastest growing industrial commercial areas in the U.S. This has been conveyed to us by the Economic Alliance folks. They're recognized we're on the map as far as needs go for people want to locate industrial sites here.
All the more reason for residents to have better
Industrial, is it?
options for moving between work, school, and home. Reporting from Loxley, Hal Sherrick, Fox 10 News.
But it hides what's done when the day is done. Sheriff rides high on a promise he sold, but his truth's been bought and his soul's been told. He don't walk alone down that courthouse hall, got shadows that move when he makes a call, a whisper here, a favor there, and suddenly justice ain't nowhere. You can hear it humming underneath the street where power and silence meet. Oh, the machine don't bleed, don't cry, don't care. It feeds on fear and the deals they share, pulling every string in the dead of night, turn wrong to right. district attorney signs with a steady hand, but the ink's been stained by a deeper plan. Senators smile from the polished stage while they trade your life for another page. County seats filled with familiar names, all tied together in a quiet game. Handshakes tighter than a noose can be, wrapped in power and immunity. And the victims cry, but no one hears. The truth gets lost in a flood of years, dragged through the mud till they break a bend, till the story twists and the lies all win. They'll take your name, they'll take your breath, dress it up nice and call it justice served to death. It's not one man, it's a web they weave, 1,000 hands that deceive, and every thread leads back again to the same old circle of friends. Oh, the machine don't bleed, don't cry, don't care. It feeds on fear and the deals they share, pulling every string in the dead of night, turning wrong to right, turning black to white. And if you speak too loud, if you're seen too clean, they'll grind you down in that cold machine. So the bat still shines in the morning light, and the town sleeps easy every night. But beneath it all, where the truth's unseen, there's a whole damn world run by that machine.
To deny an order is just to deny it. But what we really need to do is we need to ask the governor to change the order.
Does not surprise me. Sounds a lot like the PR stuff they were doing for the mega site, and then they got selected for the mega site and said how great it was and everything else. And then we found out the reason that they were selected for the mega site was that it was the only mega site left.
Well, and we had clean air they could pollute.
Yeah, clean air.
So
too.
no representation is made that the quality of legal services to be provided are greater than the legal services of other lawyers. I'm Harry Still. I'm a retired gentleman down here in Daphne, Alabama. I'm joined today by Francis Paul Rip of the Rip Report in the studio.
Glad to be here on this beautiful day.
Brandon Mosley, reporter and content manager at the Alabama Gazette. Are you still there, Brandon? We lost Brandon. But hey, we got Whitney Scapecci of the Southern Freedom Press, also running for District
Board of Education.
Board of Education.
Got my vote.
Which brings us to our first story of the day. Baldwin County School Superintendent Eddie Tyler announces retirement. So I remember
With
him.
a caveat.
I remember him as Coach Tyler
Mm-hmm.
because I had a job. So we built the high school in Robertsdale, Stewart Construction. He would come out there from time to time. So Whitney, he had a 10-year run.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he did.
he hired. So he got a 1 cent sales tax made permanent with a bunch of inside baseball with this fella named John Gray, who had what was it, $100,000 a year we were paying him?
9,500 a month, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So about $10,000 a month to John Gray. And John Gray was our political consultant, right? So what was he supposed to be keeping an eye on? Maybe the damn Orange Beach, somebody held the school system together for years, and Eddie Tyler was unable to do that. And it was a big shock when Gulf Shores and Orange Beach created their own school system. That's a bunch of bullshit.
And where's John Gray now? Who's he working for?
Oh, he's still sliming around out there. He's got a couple of candidates.
Oh, he's working for Tuberville.
Yeah.
well.
He's working for Tuberville.
You know, if you're gonna pick the side with their thumb on the scale. So 68 Ventures, We Love Development campaign. Remember that when he did a morning show with Nathan Cox where they talked about all this development really helps us do what we're doing. It helps us hire new people and build new schools. And then we're getting into where Whitney about 10 months ago.
A year ago yesterday.
A year ago yesterday, you get to looking into some things and the CFO resigns. You hear about an investigation into any of that, Paul?
No. That's why he resigned.
And then apparently, you know, well, no, I think it's this, what Whitney's going to tell us about. But Whitney, won't you catch us up? Because I had my hands full with dirty lawyers, judges, DA, you know, city councils here and yon, municipal judges, prosecutors. And I won't say that they fell off, but you got to remember that Stone Grenade and Crosby was being paid damn near $1 million a year to do their legal work, just like the county commission used that as a kickback machine, I believe. So anyway, go ahead and fill us in.
Yeah. So it's been a long year, productive year though. We've, effectively since I first started speaking out against the school board, we've got 5 who have left. Of course, they maintain that no wrongdoing was done, but John Gray was the first. Then we had then actually came the Baldwin County AEA representative. She is now gone. Then came John Wilson, the CFO. He didn't like when a mom started asking, I guess, financial questions that made him uncomfortable. I have not made this public yet, but, the same night that John Wilson resigned, he was asked a question that a few concerned parents had that had been digging into the financials and this pay-as-you-go system, which is what funded all the capital projects, which 68 Ventures, Adams and Stewart, all of them have their hand in that cookie jar. But we just wanted to know, John Wilson, why weren't we getting appraisals on these land purchases? And he resigned that evening. Following John Wilson, it was Sarah Young. I'm not going to get started on her. I think she got her law degree at Clown University, but it didn't take long after John Wilson left that Sarah Young was right behind him. And just as of recently, Eddie Tyler is now entering into his retirement era. He is not retired. He transitions to a consulting role on April the 1st, unless I can do anything to prevent that. I have a few things that I will be raising concerns about.
Who determines that, Whitney?
The board.
The board voted on it. Yeah. The board voted on it. I think that they forget about, hey, son, I'm on a call. But we might have a guest. You can sit right there. You can be right here while I'm on this call, right? There is an email that I got a hold of very early on. We have a guest here on the show. This is Rex. Everyone, he's just going to draw cartoons in the back. But there is an email that I think that some of these board members forgot about. In all fairness to Ken Bradley, he was actually not a part of the board as it stands today when this email was sent by John Wilson. But it's a lovely letter. I don't understand quite how Tyler is supposed to serve in a consulting capacity until June the 30th when, again, we talked about it earlier, we're paying almost $10,000 a month for the consulting services of John Gray. And people wanted to know, I wanted to know, what is it that John Gray did? What did he do at the time? When I exposed him on social media, I was not really writing. I was not putting out much content. I was just a pissed off mom who thought that there was something really wrong going on inside the public school system. I did some digging into John Gray. I made a huge post about him, exposing him to the public and letting people know the access that he had to our students, their data, to every school inside the Baldwin County public school system. And it just so happens it was not even like 32 hours later, he had resigned, just abruptly resigned as if it was all planned. Because, you know, nobody's leaving because they've done anything wrong. They just all happen to leave at the same time. But, you know, the email that I have, when I make it public, and I'm going to do that very soon, because again, I think the public needs to understand just what all it was that Eddie Tyler was contracting out to John Gray, which for all intents and purposes, this email was authored by John Wilson, who was essentially signing the checks, and said that during this whole time, John Gray actually never held a contract with Baldwin County Public School System. It's a big issue, right? So he was just kind of on this little month-to-month agreement with the Board of Education. But just a couple things I'll go ahead and share with you guys. The email will be available in full very soon.
Hey,
But
Whitney,
yeah,
did anybody else have the opportunity to get that business from the board? See, that's the
Oh, no.
those are the that's the reason there's a requirement. You go hire whoever you want to, but you put out an RFP.
That's why they did it in a month.
Of course. I mean, it's brilliant. Seems like Scotty Lewis came up with another loophole. Please continue.
I know you haven't used that remote before. Just a second, guys. All right, see, we're going to turn it all the way down, okay? Thank you so much, Rex. Okay, so just a couple things that John Gray was doing. So, and again, I guess we could assume if we are using Eddie Tyler as a consultant, these should be things that Eddie will be doing for the Board of Education. Yet he couldn't do them, so John Gray was. So one item, John Gray held the phone calls and did all the advising with curriculum and senior staff on public and stakeholder perception on a variety of curriculum issues, including but not limited to library concerns that were raised to the public, state accountability. John Gray was also the one who was deciding on the educational technology being used in the classrooms. He also helped decide what the alternative educational options, including career and technical education initiatives were. Let me get to some of the better ones. Let's see. Oh, he worked with senior staff on evaluating real estate trends, along with our internal projections to ensure that the pay-as-you-go system projects were constructed in a manner to best take into consideration housing markets, the current economic realities and trends, and equate those pieces of information into how that could translate into an influx or redux of students. You know, face value, if you don't look, too far into this sounds, fine, I guess, until you start realizing just what a major conflict of interest this would be. There's an article from 2024 where John Gray was quoted as 68 Ventures was the only developer that was working with Baldwin County Board of Education. So if John Gray, who also was representing 68 Ventures, who's the only one that works with the school system, if they're making all these decisions and John Gray is helping redistrict the school zones, which is in this email as well, he also did that.
And now the county commission are putting in their infrastructure and bridges that only benefit the developer of that golden triangle, right? I mean, I'm not, did I hit my head here?
No,
is that going to help? Is that going to help you, Paul Rip, when you're trying to get somewhere? I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. So keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Rezoning, you guys don't have little kids, but last year, not even last year, just a couple months ago, there was a really hot topic. They were about to rezone all the school districts. And parents were in an uproar. Alberta was one. We actually got it stopped. We were the only ones that were able to get it stopped here. But just so people know, John Gray was instrumental in that. So this is item E on this very long list of things that John Gray did for the school system. But he helped facilitate rezoning efforts from several different perspectives. He helped with the rezoning of student attendance lines based on economic impact, and he understood how they could be met with municipal or political pressures, as well as parental anger, confusion, and sometimes
redistricting rather than rezoning, right?
This is rezoning of student attendance lines here.
Like where you got to go to school,
yes.
If you live in this district, you got to go to
but
this
that would
system.
be redistricting.
Well, I didn't author this
Rezoning is
email.
changing the, the property use.
Okay, good clarification there. So redistricting. This email too, just so everybody is aware, I think Brandon, you just chimed in. This was actually authored by the former CFO, John Wilson. And the reason why this email exists is in 2024 or 2023, Eddie Tyler actually wanted to take John Gray's salary each month. Again, he didn't have a contract, but he wanted to take the $9,500 that we were paying him and give him a pay increase to $12,000 a month. And there were a couple new board members on that were like, well, first of all, who the hell is John Gray? What capacity in which does he, help us with these things? Like, what is it that he even does? So John Wilson more or less wrote a love letter of all the wonderful things that John Gray was doing for the school system. And there's a lot of highly unethical things within this email. And I will be publishing this soon.
Please do.
Oh, I will. It's a long one. But and Brandon, I'm talking about this again, you just chimed in because Eddie Tyler, as of April 1st, is going to transition into a consulting role through June 30th when he finally retires. And if John Gray was doing all this for Eddie Tyler, I just am having a hard time understanding exactly what it is or what value of consulting Eddie Tyler is going to bring to the table. So there's a lot in here. I think. Go ahead.
A lot of this is actually available from the State Department for free if you just make the phone call and they'll send an expert down. But apparently Baldwin County would rather not do that.
Well, and John Gray would rather not do that either, because again, when one of your largest clients of strategy, Jonathan Gray's company is 68 Ventures, you want to make sure that all of these decisions that are being made at the school level obviously benefit all of your clients. That's what a good PR, political consultant, public relations guy does, right?
It's a win-win.
Yeah, exactly.
For his clients.
Well, and his third client, let's not forget about his third client. Turn that down now. Thank you. His third client is Alta Point. So that's one of his largest clients. Just turn it off, please. Thank you. One of his largest
You're talking about where they tried to stuff me.
Exactly. And that's where they want to that's where they're trying to stuff our children as well, which we put a stop to that. Anyways, so this email goes on. I'm just trying to think anything. Hey, Rex, turn it off, please. Completely off. Thank you. I'm on a call right now. Thank you. So this is a big one right here. So John Gray also facilitated conversations with legislators and agencies in Montgomery. For example, State Superintendent Eric Mackey was in the county just last week touring the Baldwin Prep Academy, and Strategy assisted us in communicating and negotiating with the Alabama State Department of Education in our efforts to amend the state accountability standards to better adapt to the educational environment being promoted at Baldwin Prep. Again, John Gray's conceptual knowledge of what other schools are doing or not doing and what the State Department has allowed or not allowed, coupled with his relationship with legislators and agency contacts, provides us with a unique and tangible ability to negotiate meaningfully to obtain the best results for this district.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that John Gray knows one person that you and I don't know personally? I seriously doubt. Absolutely. This secret formula of legislators and stakeholders and whatever the hell. Please continue.
Yes. Let's see. What else do we got? There's so much in this email. I'm just going to have to make it all public. So they were also meeting. This is John facilitating these, John Gray. We frequently have conversations with the mayors and municipalities, and he puts in parentheses, John Gray, Eddie, and myself facilitate many of these meetings, some even on a quarterly basis, with municipalities around the county to receive input, facilitate questions, and attempt to provide the most cohesive partnerships with all of our municipalities for a county school system as large as ours. Why does John Gray need to insert himself into those conversations?
It's like the Coastal Alabama Partnership.
Exactly.
It's another person that I don't understand what they do. Do you, Mr. Rip?
Nope.
I just cannot understand. I turned my camera off so I could go turn off the TV. It's like I can't even quite put it into words. And we're still just on the first page, and I haven't even read everything on it. It's these legislative pushes and legislative communication efforts. So we're on to item K. Strategy Inc. assisted us with crafting the legislation that helped better protect our school system financially in the face of the city system split.
Well, there was a lawsuit. I mean, what did John Gray have to do with that? There was a lawsuit.
Yeah,
right?
it was a lawsuit.
Yeah, this wasn't decided by legislators. It was decided by a judge.
Well, there was the I'll add in some commentary about that later. There was one conversation that an elected official sat in on when there was a hot debate going on about the penny tax. And at one point, this elected official got tired of hearing John Gray running his mouth and interjecting his opinions and speaking over everyone that was representing the Board of Education. And they told John Gray to shut up, that they're not even sure why he's there. To which John Gray responded, "That's fine, I'll go ahead and leave. I'll just text Eddie everything that he's going to say because I'm the one that's talking for him."
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
Yeah. So again, here we are. I'm not sure what we need Eddie Tyler to lend his consulting services for. I don't really know what it is that he's capable of, honestly. There's a lot here. I'll be making, there's so much. There's the Alabama Department of Mental Health. You've got ADM mentioned in here, the ADPH. It's just, there's so much good stuff in here, things that the people really need to know. The last part of the email, and this is where I really lost my damn mind as a parent whenever I was digging into John Gray, was the board and the superintendent do not have a written agreement with strategy. That is one of the biggest battles that I faced with Eddie Tyler, board member Cecil Christianberry, above anyone else. Andrea Lindsay, is that they kept arguing when I was talking about John Gray, and I'm like, what the hell is he doing here? They said, well, he has a contract. This is part of the superintendent's discretionary fund that he gets to just decide that we pay this man, and it's a contractual agreement. John Wilson right here admits, there was no written agreement with strategy. He goes on to say, we engage strategy's services on a month-to-month basis, and he works directly under the discretion, supervision, and direction of the superintendent. He says, respectfully, it is my opinion, and like that of many of my colleagues, that there is no other company that offers the services, advice, the work ethic, background, contacts, talent, and the ability that strategy possesses in our region. John Wilson.
And he shows up with little Piggly Wiggly bags with money in it.
The thing that used to get me, Whitney, is that there'd be an election series like we have right now. Of course, Gray is snuggling up to Tuberville right now, but
he's snuggling up to some Baldwin County.
He can deliver Baldwin
Correct.
County, remember?
Correct. And what used to get me was the television stations and even AL.com would call John Gray for interviews and his opinions on who's running and who's going to win.
That's Channel 5.
When he is paid, this is his business. So you think of all the people that are in business out there that don't get free press, but he was getting free press to get up there and speak about things when he was being paid and had many conflicts of interest that he should never have been the one that they brought up there to, give his opinion on something. And of course, now I think he's flipped and believe he's working on Billy Joe Underwood's campaign, isn't he?
I do not have confirmation that he's working on Billy Joe's campaign. I do know that, I'm going to be explaining this the closer that we get to the primaries, but there is a lot of reason to believe that he is involved in Haygoods, her campaign.
Boy, I got a lot to say about that.
We're gonna do a special Haygood
Yeah, we're going to do a
podcast.
special podcast.
I got a
just for Christy
special one just
Haygood.
for her.
Really, me
Well,
too.
to any of our viewers that are out there, I know that it exists. So if anybody could do me a solid, I'm a real busy gal. I am trying to find the piece of land that the Haygood and the Gray family own together. I know that it exists.
Oh no, come on, man. Are you serious?
Yes, I'm looking for it. I am tracing the LLCs. I am looking
Oh,
hard. I've
my
been digging for
God.
this land for a few weeks. I do know that it exists. That came out of Christy Haygood's mouth herself. So it's out there. If you know where it is, please
Okay,
email
well,
me.
I'm gonna say a little prayer. You find that one.
Looking so hard. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about
Yeah.
the CFO resignation. What was that all about?
Okay. So there is,
And when was it?
just a second, Rex. Just be there with you just a second.
They always pick up that time, Whitney.
I know. So it was around September, October. It was around the time, if anybody that's been following me for a while, I went really hard on the land deals, exposing the sketchy land deals, the shady land stuff that was happening with all the Board of Education land.
Did a
And
good
we
job.
Thank you. And I didn't do it all by myself. I had two partners. I'm not going to name both of them in case they don't want to be named, but I had two partners that were helping me trace all this land. And do you want to come sit with me and be on the show? No? Okay. There was a
Get
piece
out.
of land out of Robertsdale. And it had been sold. You want to come? All right. Hey, we have a guest today.
All right. Hey, dude.
All right. Say hey. So there's a piece of land out of Robertsdale. It had been purchased a year before the Baldwin County Board of Education bought it by a man in Kentucky named Joshua Tabers. This is all public record. And he bought it. I'm going to throw out numbers. Don't quote me on them. But he had bought this piece of land for about $45,000. Super great deal, right? And so a year later, he sells it to the Board of Education for about like $240,000. And there is nothing done to the land. There's no improvements, nothing done to this land at all. There was not a huge economic boom around this piece of land. You doing the 6-7 thing? Yeah, that's too trendy for these guys. So we started looking into it. And so I actually had my private investigator call Mr. Joshua Tabers in Kentucky, and God, that man was really nervous. He was really nervous. She told him that she was doing an investigation around some land that the Baldwin County Board of Education had purchased. And she wanted to know, if, what was the deal with that land? Like, did he seek out the school system to buy it? It had been put on the market. We were able to download the images from Google Maps that showed that there was a for sale sign on it at one point. It was listed by the seller, Josh Tabers, who is not from here, has no ties to this land here at all, this area at all. And she said that she listed the land for him. He sought her out, and that whenever it was time to sell the land, she was actually the one that was like, oh, the Board of Education would love this land, actually. So don't quote me, but I believe she worked both sides of the real estate deal. And we started looking, and just through all of these land deals, long story short, there were no appraisals that were done. I'm like, I wanted to know, why did we buy that piece of land just a year later from this Joshua Tabers fella, and for this huge markup? And damn it, there's no appraisal that was available. So there was no reason to understand why this land had increased in such value.
So we know that there's been a grand jury impaneled since this, and I haven't heard about the CFO being arrested or any of that. Have you, Mr. Rip?
No, I didn't even know about the grand jury.
No, I'm just saying there's a grand jury impaneled all the time.
Okay.
I'm just saying,
Right.
as a regular course of business, we have one
All right.
quarterly. So if this happened in September, they could have taken it to the December grand jury.
Yeah. Well, who would you have to go through to get to the grand jury?
The district attorney.
There's a rub.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
So, I can't say for certain because they went into executive session that night. I just know that I had raised the question to a few board members that cared to respond to my emails. And I was not the only one that was obviously looking into this land, but we just wanted to know. It was that month that we were asking. So again, I am just assuming that the question was asked tonight. Why do we not have an appraisal on this land? And whatever happened in executive session. And next thing you know, I'm using it right now, actually. Thank you for asking. That same night, John Wilson resigned. So
no explanation, just resigned.
No explanation that night. However, he did end up going to, he went to the public, and he didn't do 6-7. He went to the public, and his explanation, stop it, honey. He went to the public and said that, Rexy, and had explained to them that Rex Oliver, your daddy's there. He explained that he had a good run. He talked about all the achievements that he was super proud of. And then he went on to say that there were some accusations by, I don't know who he was talking about, but he said there were some accusations made by specific board members that they were unfounded, they were uncalled for, and he was done. He was done with being slammed through the mud. It is worth mentioning, before he resigned, it was about a month beforehand, he ended up sending me a cease and desist. There were no attachments, no exhibits to say what it was that bordered, defamation, slander, or libel. There's nothing there, but I just got a nice little letter. It actually came from SB. I published it. I put it out publicly. I wasn't going to take anything down. I wasn't going to retract anything that I said, because if I bring it up and talk about it, I have the receipts for it.
Right.
And so, yeah. And so I took it down. It came about a month after I got one from 68 Ventures. Again, they threatened me, told me to take everything down. I had 24 hours. And so on the 24-hour mark, it was on the 4th of July, and I published it. And I said, what better day to talk about our rights and our freedom of speech than today? Right. And I'm not removing shit.
Mr. Bordencocker knows all about that, being a former U.S. attorney over in Mobile. The general counsel for 68 Ventures, the guy that wrote you the letter.
Yes,
same guy that prosecuted Danny Williams. The guy that got run over by the boat that kind of wrapped up my career.
Right.
Yeah. So
but yeah, John Wilson sent me the cease and desist. And so what was really so cool about that is I published that, and I got messages from 3 people in the community. I've never talked about this. I got private messages, and 2 of them were from females who had actually stood up and fought against 68 Ventures. Okay, I'm talking about the C&D that came from John Wilson, who worked for the Baldwin County Board of Education.
Yep.
They reached out to me and said, I went up against 68 Ventures fighting their developments. One was from Mobile, one was from Baldwin County. And they said, not only have I been stalked repeatedly by their private investigator, Kettrick Kelly, Kettrick had actually even followed one of these mothers to her children's daycare. She has everything on video. But
he's the guy that was working for McSherry that dumped our garbage and flew the drones over our houses. Remember the lady that went off the Barstool case?
Yeah.
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 So,
I have it on camera at my property as well.
One more little wrinkle. He was also the FBI agent who was running Danny Williams, the guy who died, May 27th, 2022, Friday of Memorial Day weekend in front of 40,000 people, and nobody saw a thing.
Yeah.
Interesting times we live in Baldwin County, isn't it?
Well, it's such a small world, what are the chances, really? Yeah.
So tell me more. Can you tell us about the test score scandal stuff?
Yeah. So when Eddie Tyler made his announcement for retirement, everybody instantly thought that it had something to do with the Daphne scandal that I leaked the other day. That video is up to 110,000 views. And so everybody automatically, Eddie Tyler, it was 2 days after that video came out. I released it on a Tuesday. On Thursday, he was
retiring. And that scandal had to do with the coach who had sexual contact with a minor, right?
Allegedly, yes.
Allegedly.
Yes.
Well, with a group of minors, allegedly. So it actually, I don't think it has anything to do with that. What I think that it has everything to do with is that about 10 days before the Daphne story broke, I had submitted an email based upon an investigation that I have been working on for the last 10 months
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I can hold on to shit for a long time until I need to. So,
Better be able to.
yeah. So there was early on when I started speaking out, I had, and I didn't know what I was doing when I first started speaking out, I was advocating for my child and for these other first graders. I had no idea a year later, like I would be this deep into it as I am. But I had a teacher message me early on that said, "Hey, you're digging into things. I saw, thank you for getting rid of John Gray." Even some of the damn teachers knew that man and were happy that he was gone. But was first made privy to this in about April, May, that there was a cheating scandal, not somebody sleeping with somebody's husband, like cheating, grade manipulation, attendance, data manipulation. There's a whole lot to it, but it was out of
It's not
Spanish
what the
Fort.
grades and test scores really are. It's what we report, you see, and you get
Yeah.
these childhood, these units per day were they fudging the damn attendance numbers too?
It's so deep. So
Whoa.
one
And
example.
that's really not uncommon for a lot of different school districts around the country.
Well, it's
that's
not.
a good excuse.
Well, no,
It's
they're
like having
trying
a
to
crooked
stay-
sheriff.
No, they're
most
trying to
sheriffs are
stay-
crooked.
No, they're trying to stay in certain compliances for money, right, Whitney? I mean, in
Well,
programs.
here's where we're getting out of compliance and we're getting into increasing and falsifying data to create what I am alleging is fraud. It's fraud because it's
It
not
is
just
fraud.
staying in compliance, right, to get the bare minimum for these children for their education. There's bonus incentives tied to this. So the school report card, the state report card, is directly tied to the end of year bonus that is paid out to principals, assistant principals, and the assistant superintendents.
Well, we'll just fudge some grades and get us a big bonus, Paul. Hell,
That's it.
everybody knows we're doing it. It ain't no big deal. It's helping everybody.
Oh, it's
Rising
helping
tide
them.
and all.
It's helping them. I remember too, when I was in the middle of this investigation and I had not said a damn word about it. What was really crazy to me is that I was at a board meeting. I wasn't there to bitch about anything. I was just there to listen and learn. And somebody had brought up, it was one of the board members had talked about, can we not do anything about changing the payout, how it's structured from these school report cards? We would really love to incentivize our teachers, the ones that are actually doing the hard work and in the trenches every day. And I remember the board attorney immediately was like, it's just not structured that way. We cannot do that. We're looking into other ways to provide bonuses for teachers. Well, Sarah Young, that was a while ago, and still there's nothing that has changed.
Of course not.
Of course, and it's not going to. But there is a lot of evidence. It could have its own episode, honestly. I have the most evidence. I mean, I am 100% confident. I know exactly what was happening with this. The teachers actually had started filing their complaints, filing evidence that they had in 2024. So this is like a year or so before Whitney Skopecki even ever shows up. But they were filing their complaints. They had sent everything to HR, to Eddie Tyler. And what ended up happening to some of these teachers is an investigation was launched, but not against the principal, not against the people that were instructing these, people to manipulate this data. Because of course it was the little guys, right? The principal wasn't falsifying and manipulating things.
Of course not.
No, it was the teachers. And so what did HR and Eddie Tyler and the assistant superintendents decide to do? They launched an investigation against the whistleblowers.
Yeah, that sounds like Baldwin County. For sure.
Sounds exactly like Baldwin County.
Yeah.
Well, look, we're going to have to move on to Mr.
Yes.
Rips.
Yes.
Mr. Rip can pitch in here a little bit.
Go right ahead. We could talk about it another day. It's ongoing.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll come back to it. I promise you.
I don't think that's a coincidence, Whitney, that all of this shakeup with the school system and your investigations are not related. I mean, they're looking at it and saying, now's the time to jump. Now's the time to get out of here.
They're trying to get out of Dodge, but I will just say this. If there are federal crimes that have been committed, you can run, but you cannot hide. But anyways, go ahead and take it away, Paul.
Well, the other, one of the allegations that I keep hearing or things that keep coming up is about Hoss Mack, and that Hoss was given the alternative of facing charges or resigning and getting another job. So he resigned and took another job and left everything in Lowry's hands. However, the culture...
Very competent hands.
Yeah, and however, the culture that Hoss developed, which is totally unhealthy for Baldwin County citizens, passed on to Lowry. Lowry is now running for sheriff against Matt McKenzie, and I would just encourage everyone that we have got to have a sheriff's department that has a bit of compassion and understanding for the citizens, and not just the clique or the Boy Scout group they got within the sheriff's department.
The Golden Boys.
Yeah, and I have and Harry has been, raising hell and bringing up case after case, Jonathan Victor, Mr. Yates, Peyton Little. I mean, I could go on and on. The 5 people that were killed in the car accident where the sheriff's department chased them down I-10 the wrong way. I mean, this is over and over again. But recently I got a letter from a sheriff's deputy, and it exemplifies everything that we have been saying all along. All right, this is his letter, and I'll read his name in the end. To the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office, it is with mixed emotions that I write formally announce my resignation from the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office effective 3/13/26. As I reflect on my time here for almost 20 years, I am filled with disappointment. I wasted 19 plus years with an agency that discriminates, retaliates, and backs the deputies who do not have morals or ethics, as proven in the latest problems with the sheriff's office, which are on the news as I am writing this letter. I feel that ever since June 2017, I have been targeted for retaliation, proven time and time again, even to the latest move to court security and punishment for being a good deputy without any blemishes on my personal file. In order to satisfy younger deputies who have not proven themselves to the sheriff's office, and to protect deputies who have only moved up by being yes men, even when they are not ethically right. They have punished deputies who tell the truth, even when it involves the sheriff's office, bad behavior, mistreatment, and no ethics or morals. I feel if I return, I will continue to be targeted for telling the truth. And
bet your ass you will.
Yes, that I will be targeted for telling the truth and holding to my Christian beliefs about this agency, that it lacks God and good, godly men to lead, which it is clearly shown over the last 19 years that being godly and ethical isn't a requirement to be employed by Baldwin County Sheriff's Office. I have looked at all my past while leaving or returning to the sheriff's office, and even wrote a letter to HR and command expressing my feelings of discrimination.
Wait, who's command? David White, and HR is Elliott's wife, right?
I believe
and it
so.
fell on deaf ears. Imagine that shit.
Chris Elliott's wife. People don't know that connection.
Senator Chris Elliott's wife is the HR director.
Correct. And she was the main conduit between Hoss Mack and Chris Elliott, was it Chris Elliott's wife. But anyway, I've looked at all of my past while leaving and returning to the sheriff's office, and even wrote a letter to HR and command expressing my feelings of discrimination, retaliation, a hostile work environment before my injury to my back caused by the sheriff's office retaliation against me. For my family, the only safe, clear approach is to leave now. I feel I should be allowed to leave in good standing with a post due to my injury being caused by the sheriff's office retaliation and my FMLA time running out. I feel I am given everything to be a good deputy, and this job is far from a family man's job unless you are in the good old boy club, which I will not sell the value of my family and soul for. Thank you for clearing my path, Deputy Clarence Herring. Now, here's a man that's been in there over almost 20 years saying the very thing that we keep saying over and over and over again. And nothing is going to change, people, until you put a new sheriff in there with a new hat that has no connections and no good old boy club backing him. And that's going to be Matt McKenzie.
Well, you got to remember that. So the chief deputy, David White, you know what his last job was? He was chief investigator for the district attorney's office.
Oh, that's a good.
Do you know where? Do you know where Lowry came from?
Chief investigator for
chief investigator at the DA's office.
In fact,
at
let
the
me
DA's
mention,
office.
Yes,
back in the day.
That's correct. Well, he was.
Remember the Murray Lawrence case,
the wrongful conviction of Murray Lawrence. He was the lead investigator. Lowry was the lead investigator on a case that sent a man to jail for life without parole, and Mr. Lowry produced nothing, zero, nada, not one bit of evidence, and he didn't look any further than what they wanted to do, and that was to prosecute the man.
Well, I feel like there's some vindication in this whole thing, and you know, I've been trying to tell everybody for a long time, and you know, the deputy who got fired for posting the Bible verse,
right?
You know, he's one, and now Clarence Herring, another one. I don't know, maybe.
Oh yeah, but you know, what about all the sex offenses within the deputy's department? I mean, within the sheriff's department, deputies having sex with other deputies.
Well, let's talk about what just recently happened, right?
Yeah.
So there was a sting operation, and the sheriff's department wasn't aware of it. It was Aaliyah had come down to do some kind of a seminar.
No, it was with an organization called Skull Games in partnership with the Spanish Fort Police Department and the Little Tree Project, which is also a 501c.
Okay, but it was a setup.
Yes.
Unbeknownst to the sheriff's department.
Well, that'd be the last one you tell.
Okay, but a sheriff's deputy showed up.
Wait a minute, let Whitney.
Let me just add one part. So it was not unbeknownst to the sheriff's department. So eyes and ears everywhere. So the person alleged to have been involved with this, that was an employee of the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office, was actually I'm not going to say this right, but like a training lead, right? There's different departments that train for different things. This person was above one of those departments. So there was an email, allegedly, that went out to all law enforcement, right? Like the tops, the heads. So you could assume that municipal police chiefs got it, and all of these different training department heads within Baldwin County Sheriff's Office, as well as the sheriff, I would assume, that went out and said, hey, you know, we are going to be doing this training in partnership with Spanish Fort, Skull Games, the Little Tree Project. And so again, that is what makes this so interesting, is that the person in question from Baldwin County Sheriff's Department that got himself caught up and stuck in this sticky situation was aware that this sting operation and this training was going on.
God.
So let's put it to you this way. He has not been arrested.
No, he has not.
His identity, Eli, is being withheld by the sheriff's department, Eli. So I have no idea what his name is, Eli, but I do have certain suspicions.
Oh.
So back to this little road project again, I just wanted to emphasize that this is the Golden Triangle, and it was supposed to be developed by developers. And remember
Yes.
all the little pieces of property that were supposed to be for a city hall and a fire station and all that stuff, right?
Right.
Well,
They
it's all
published
down
it.
in that damn ravine. You see this little branch right here, kind of runs through there. Yeah, that's the headwaters of Fish River. It's a big swamp. So anyway, the county commission is committed to $16.5 million to improve this property. And, it's going to cut down on travel time, Paul, for all these people that are going to be in these new subdivisions developed by 68 Ventures. Do you know how many, do you have any idea how many residential units they're talking about here? I got the master plan that they approved, 10 years ago. It's unbelievable.
Well, I know that, what's that, 225?
Yeah.
Look at the subdivisions that have popped up on 225.
Oh,
That's only 10 miles to the intersection there. There must be 25 different subdivisions.
Okay, Brandon, are you still there? We need your animal
Yes, I'm still
husbandry
here.
skills. Okay, so Peter Thiel just
Well,
got
computer
$2
skills
billion.
is not very good.
So Peter Thiel just invested $2 billion on a collar that wraps around a cow's neck. The company is called Halter and is a proprietary algorithm that runs the entire operation. They actually nicknamed it the Cowgorithm. So it's going to take over.
One of the big maintenance costs of running a cattle ranch is you kind of want to you want cross fences for the cows to move from pasture to pasture so you get the best use of that forage and you don't lose so much of it getting trampled. But the problem is if you're going to divide, 1,000 acres into 20 pastures, you're maintaining an awful lot of fence. So the new, fenceless, deal is, it's being promoted kind of heavily in livestock circles. You could just say, cows, I want you on pasture number 27 today and 35 tomorrow. And you just, somebody moves them and then electronically a fence tells them they can't leave this imaginary barrier.
That's pretty cool. So that's the Cowgorithm. No need to worry about the Tesla truck and the self-driving Liberty ship, but they're putting all the gauchos out of business. So then, one national policy, the White House is urging Congress to pass a common sense national AI standard this year, aiming to prevent the confusion patchwork between the 50 states.
Yeah, they don't want the states doing it.
Yeah. So kind of like environmental regulations. So now, along those same lines, the city of Atmore is asking for more another video surveillance program, Paul.
They're not going to be satisfied till they have a camera on every corner.
So in some legal news.
We did pass legislation, I believe this was out of the Senate. It is it's not statewide. It's a preliminary, it's, limited in scope. But you know how there are construction sites all over the state. All of a sudden you're doing 70 miles an hour and there's a sign, hey, construction site, slow down to 45. Nobody does because they know there's not enough state troopers to enforce it. Because, it usually takes one trooper there to guard the site and, tag the speeders, and a second to chase down Harry speeding through there. Well, under, the new, new
pilot program. New pilot program.
Yeah, that's this word. It's a pilot program. When Harry zooms through there at 70 miles an hour, a computer is going to note that Harry did that, and it's going to send Harry a bill for $250. the courts told them that they don't have the manpower and the time to do this. So in the pilot program, whether you're guilty or not will be decided by a LEA. Though if you're convicted, you do have the option of going to circuit court. So that way it doesn't put any strain on our court system.
Yeah.
Or our troopers. So, like I said, you may not see any construction workers and you might not see any troopers, but, Robo Trooper is out there and he's got a gun on you and, he catches you going 10 miles over the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit through that construction site. Boom. You're getting, a mailed with, $10, $50 deals.
Yeah,
now,
everybody needs to go read Why Orwell Matters by Christopher Hitchens. That's your homework.
This will not cost you any points, so this won't affect your insurance, but it will, if you drive through the same construction site every day, twice a day, like some of us do, if you don't slow down, this could get expensive pretty quick. $20 a pop, 5 work days, times, let's say 5 days, times, for 10 times 250. We're doing 20. You can run $2,500 in a week and never get pulled over by a trooper or see a trooper.
And never know you've been tagged until you get all these bills.
Yeah,
in the mail.
never know. There's a trooper car there. Just all of a sudden, it's like going to Florida and, you catch you for, you try to stop at all of the toll booths. And somehow, every time I'm down there, I get a camera says you skipped a toll booth. It's like,
Me too.
Bullshit.
I was trying
Every
not
time.
to.
All right. So we got it.
And I owe them like $15.
So Brandon, have you seen all the commercials where if you've been injured by a big truck, right? People with commercial insurance are more likely to pay out without a trial. So these New Orleans attorneys got with these, what I like to call co-conspirators, and they staged a bunch of wrecks with 18-wheelers, and they got caught. So now they're all going to prison. Isn't that interesting? That's down in New Orleans. So here's an update. An absolutely excruciating moment at the Georgia Supreme Court this week. Justice Peterson pressed State Attorney Deborah Leslie over her citation to cases that apparently don't exist. And she's standing in front of the Georgia Supreme Court using some bullshit AI shit out.
AI will make up its own, if it needs a precedent, it will make up the precedent, kind of like a junior attorney. Yeah.
So this week, in a rare move, the Kentucky House voted to impeach a sitting judge for abuse of power, defying binding precedents, defying Kentucky statute, and interfering with the rights and powers of the grand jury, trial jurors, and attorneys to perform their duties. I got 7 candidates.
I was going to say that needs to happen a hell of a lot more.
It sure does. So I guess everybody knows this is what all the airports look like. I really don't want to go into it, but just we need to note it, okay? So
where do you see those plane tickets and that adjusted cost for fuel?
So Memorial Day, the new bridge going into on the Pleasure Island will be open.
Oh,
and it will be one way. It will be southbound, right?
Uh-huh.
And you do this little flyover deal, and there's a ramp that curves back under. It's actually pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. That you can see it bend back around and come back under again.
Okay, so I'm going to read this. The Navy's biggest embarrassment just became its most useful weapon. The Littoral Combat Ship, which is, of course, made here in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
The Littoral Combat Ship was called Floating Garbage. Cracking hull, gearboxes, grinding to dust. Ships decommissioned before they saw combat. The Pentagon tried to scrap the entire program. Now the LCS Trimaran is inside the Straits of Hormuz, launching expendable attack drones into Iranian air defenses from its flight deck. Cost per drone less than a pickup truck. So it turns out
it's
biggest
a whole
folly.
lot cheaper. it's a whole lot cheaper for a littoral combat ship to escort a tanker through the Strait of Hormuz than an 8,500 ton Arleigh Burke destroyer.
Yeah, really.
You know?
Okay.
But
So,
the Admirals are like big ships.
so Brandon, here's another one for you. The U.S. Navy just unleashed the Liberty class, a 190-foot crewless cargo beast that can cross 11,500 miles of open ocean, carrying 165 tons with 0 humans on board. Experts expect 10 to 20 of these autonomous haulers each year.
Wow.
And this, of course, replaces the Liberty ships that were up to 25 in the Tensas Delta for years. We kept them after World War I, thinking there'd be another World War, and we need to move a bunch of stuff.
I never saw that picture right there. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's Gravine Island right there.
Yeah.
And the reason all that sand is there is they had to dredge the river out to make it deep enough.
Get them in there.
Yeah, so now that's all over with. So, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but we have a lot of incoming. There was a explosion, Tunuscan type explosion of a meteorite over Ohio. And then yesterday, everybody got knocked out of their beds in Houston, Texas. Well, I guess it was 4:40 p.m. 49 miles.
Wow.
Yeah. Check this shit out. You know how we get all new cool shit for $200 billion?
Yeah.
Check that out. That is the new tactical truck. The next generation tactical vehicle, Ivy Sting 4.
Looks wicked enough.
It doesn't it? I hope we get some better stuff than that.
Which it's replacing.
So, propaganda placement, that's pretty cool. Operation Epic Fury is ongoing. Air superiority achieved. 8,000 targets eliminated. Iran's power projection collapsing. U.S. forces are executing and staying on mission. Donald Trump says he's planning on wrapping this sumbitch up soon, and they got 48 hours to open the Straits of Hormuz.
You guys ever heard of rope-a-dope?
That's not what it is.
That's what Iran is doing. That's what Iran is playing rope-a-dope.
So a 20-year-old University of Alabama student went missing from his Airbnb in Barcelona, and they showed video of him apparently falling into the water.
Well, that where they found that body is a beach inlet. I was in Barcelona about a couple years ago, and it's right next to a big marina, but there's a public beach there too. And the one that they showed, that they implied that's where they found him, it sounds like that's what happened, is he just went down to the damn beach, probably intoxicated or something, or maybe, and went in there swimming. It was in a break zone for waves and stuff, so I don't know what would have caused him to drown.
I don't know. So Mac Butler, PSC reform effort passes House 104-0. This is anything but reform. It's going to be an appointed board.
No, there's two bills.
Okay.
There's competing bills. The Mac Butler bill is the good bill. It would cap, the power rates at the average of the southeastern state. Right now, power rates are 40% higher than TPA's, and it's higher than Florida Power and Light, Georgia Power, and Mississippi Power, even though that's the same company. Figure that one out.
Well,
the Senate one is just stack the PSC. That's Garland Gudger's bill. And Chris England said on the floor of the House, the Senate bill is a piece of trash. And if you read the two bills, the Senate bill is basically just allowing, Alabama Power to gut the elected PSC and stack it with appointed people. Now, there will be elections at some point in the future. Create them based on congressional districts. So it's go from a 3-member PSC to a 7-member with a Secretary of Energy appointed by the governor.
That's just the dumbest. That's the least Republican thing I've ever heard of. That sounds like some shit Joe Biden would do.
It's a power thing.
Okay,
They
well,
fired R.B. Walker for that first bill.
you know-
Now, this is the replacement bill. Was apparently Peoples can't run the power company without controlling the PFC.
Brandon, my
I did
father,
not say that.
my father in the early 1970s, along with Ralph Nader, formed the Alabama Consumer Association. It was the only one in the state. The number one business that they looked at all of the time was Alabama Power Company. And they have been, they bitched for 25 years, and they did get some things done, small things. They had to go up against a bunch of lawyers, but the Alabama Power Company acts a lot like a cartel in the way that they hand out money to all these legislators. Then they have another bunch of money that they hand out to all the charities. Then they have another bunch of money that they hand out to different schools and prominent people. So when you try to change something with Alabama Power or look at the consumer standpoint, you're not going to get anywhere because everybody's on the dole. Everybody's getting money.
There's too much goodwill. That's what we call it, goodwill.
Yeah, okay.
Mac Butler has in his bill that, you can lobby and spend a bunch of money on lobbying, but that can come out of your profits, not the cost of producing power that you send to the customers.
Well, great.
Okay.
Obviously, that provision is not in the Gudger Senate bill.
Okay, so you know how you can't talk about Alabama Power Company in a PSC meeting. Similarly, right down the road in Biloxi, okay, this is hard to believe. The stronghold of the Dixie Mafia. All right. So this says today at 1:30 p.m. is Biloxi City Council meeting for 17 March 2026. Remember, if you decide to make comments during your 3 minutes of citizen comment time, Council President Kenny Glavan, does that name ring anything for y'all? And Mayor Fofo Gillich? The Gilliches, the murder of the mayor of Biloxi in the 1990s. Well, anyway, the mayor is the nephew of the Dixie Mafia figure that had the mayor murdered from prison because he stole his Lonely Hearts money. It's hard to believe this shit. But anyway, they have banned the words Dixie Mafia and criminals. It will get you thrown out by the police department since decorum eclipses the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah,
now, have we heard this before?
No, but it sounds like something.
If the Italian mafia, started like an Italian citizens, American Citizens Association to, outlaw talking about, the
Cosa Nostra.
Mafia. Yeah, Cosa Nostra, when, the seven families pretty much ruled New York City.
Right. So anyway, if you don't know who the Gillich fella is, just check, do a little. Okay.
Oh, my man here did it.
Oh my goodness gracious! I don't even know where to start with this.
Afroman.
Okay, so, yeah, we got to do this.
Yeah, but he's using the cameras that they used on him. He's using the cameras back against them. It's the same thing here when Hoss.
We did it, America! Yeah, we did it! Freedom of speech! Right on! Right on! Yeah! God bless America! Yeah! Power to the people! Yeah.
Afroman was spotted celebrating his historic win against the Ohio police. The beloved rapper was outside Adams County Courthouse after winning unanimously in his defamation trial and was successfully defended his First Amendment rights.
Well, let's everybody remember, because I was in the room when it happened at the county commission, when Hoss Mack stood up and wanted $600,000 for cameras. And in his little speech to the commission to get that money, he told them that was in the best interest of the citizens of the community and Baldwin County and also the police. And now that they would have camera footage that would be able to explain to everyone exactly what happened with every incident. It is now the same sheriff's department that will not release any camera footage of any incident that involves them.
I think we need to get Amy Yates to do one of these.
Yeah.
Now, let's be clear. These deputies came to Afroman's house on an anonymous tip that he had marijuana. They kicked his door down. They did all this stuff. They took into custody X amount of money. And when he gets it back from inventory, he claims that they stole his money.
Right.
So he's made a series of videos about the individual deputies involved. And this is the female deputy. And Whitney, make sure your children aren't around.
There's supposed to be a rated G podcast.
I want them all.
Looks like it.
Lick 'em, Lolisa. Came to town. She ate all the pussy all around. From Adams County,
Oh my God.
to the 275. Lick 'em, Lolisa. Licking every pussy alive. Lick 'em, low.
All right, Eric. All right. Censor. I hope your kid's not in the room.
Always wear my AirPods.
Yeah, really.
Thank God the
I
AirPod.
love Afroman. I love this case. I love everything about it. Like, I love that he won. I'm a fan.
So the fat
The
guy.
Adams County Sheriff
This
kicked
is a good
down my door. Then I heard the glass break. They found no kidnapping victims, just some lemon pound cake. Mama's lemon pound cake. It tastes so nice. It made the sheriff wanna put down his gun and cut him a slice. Of what? Lemon pound cake.
Yes.
I love it.
That is using your platform.
Right.
I got to come up with one for Lowry and Hoss Mack.
So much material. Yeah. Lemon pound cake.
I'm gonna write to Afroman. I'm gonna tell him that I've got some great information. I'd love for him to spit out a mixtape about it. So
Yeah, really.
So,
Really.
so back here to I always like to try to cover the solar farm stuff. So the fake archaeologist, son of the New York Times editor, wonder where he got his money for make the money, the movie about the Delta, right? And the underwater forest. And then the fact that he found the last slave ship on the wrong side of the Delta. The fake archaeologist.
Yep.
He's the person that we went to. This is Howlin' Rain's son.
Right.
Right. And he
But he did find a ship.
He did find a ship, but we seriously
It
doubt
may
it's
not be
killed
the
him.
ship, but he did
But
a
anyway,
ship.
he has weighed in and said we don't need a solar farm because it's way too environmentally sensitive, which I agree with. But what makes him an authority?
Well, it says a solar site is not worth the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, what is okay? Because you can't die in. I can't remember. Can't die in every one of them. Well, I'd like to know a little bit more about what Rain said. I'm not sure how that title reads. Do you,
Now,
Brandon?
on the solar farm issue, Chip Brown, of all people, stepped in and amended on the floor with the help of Matt Simpson, Mac Butler's PSC bill to require that all the property owners around a proposed solar or wind project get notice and that there be a public hearing held on the project before the PSC votes on it.
Okay.
In the case of Stockton, they just voted on it and everybody found out about it.
It seems to me that would have been Chuck E. Cheese's job or someone who worked for the legislative delegation. Hey, keep an eye on the PSC and see if they're going to authorize a new nuclear power plant.
It's usually so boring that nobody covers their meetings. I mean, it's like, what's going on there?
Oh,
Chuck E. Cheese is gone.
I know, but there's a Chuck E. Cheese still there. There's still somebody in Chuck E. Cheese's job.
I'm going to tell you something. As long as I've lived here since '93, the biggest problem in Baldwin County is that they have never had a strong legislative delegation. And in the case of where we are now is we have a state senator that runs rogue, Chris Elliott, over the legislative delegation who finds out what he's doing after the fact. They're never told. And that is one of our biggest problems is our legislative delegation here. Yeah. And Elliott, please, everybody, please help us get this man out. Elliott wants to retire. He wants us to vote him out. I know his heart's in it.
Okay. So we've requested a meeting with Wilters, our district attorney, right? To discuss assault, wrongful imprisonment, threats, perjury, malicious prosecution, political corruption, wealth transfer, slander, and money laundering.
He hadn't got time.
Just a few things.
Well, it's
okay. Let her go.
Well, it's me and Whitney and a candidate for District 3 County Commission.
We just wanted to talk.
Yeah, and hey, you know what, Paul?
He has a problem.
There's a lot of people there are a lot of people that are running for county commission right now. And you know the one thing I'm talking to, why does the county commission give $1 million to the DA's office?
Really?
Yeah. I mean, isn't that a state funded program? Doesn't the,
Yes, but local government can, and in some cases like Madison County, and apparently Baldwin County, does supplement the district attorney's office because we want to be, tough on crime and fund additional assistant DAs.
Is that why we do it?
Well, my criticism of the legislative delegation also goes to the district attorney. As long as I have been here, we have not had a district attorney that's been worth a crap.
Well, they're all the grandchildren of Whetstone. Just remember that.
Yeah.
Whetstone is still alive, and he still has a lot of influence over, especially. Well, let me just look at what they did.
Murray Lawrence.
Well, I was going to say Stephen Nodine.
Well, Stephen Nodine too, but the wrongful
sympathetic of a figure.
The wrongful conviction of Murray Lawrence took the district attorney's office. It took the sheriff's department and a bunch of people to all be together, like-minded. I call it conspiracy, to frame this man and put him in jail with absolutely no evidence and very questionable jurisdiction for even taking the case on, since the body was found in Mississippi. But you can see,
and no physical evidence tied the body to Alabama that we're aware of.
You can go to Murray Lawrence Jr.'s website, pick up the story on audio now, just been re-edited and put on. But we'll also be putting that up as a RIP report.
All right, guys. Well, Brandon, anything that we should keep our eye on? I know that it's spring break for the legislature, right?
It is technically spring break for the legislature, but the actual ones that make the decisions down there will be negotiating. Of course, there'll be nothing public on this. This will all be done, behind closed doors on the two versions of, the two budgets, the difference between the House and the Senate versions, and then that PSC bill. How much of the Garland-Gudger bill goes into the Mac Butler bill, And does any of the Matt Butler bill go into the Garland Goodger bill, and which one of them are they going to pass? And obviously, Evelyn Power is kind of interested in that one.
Might be one to keep an eye on. Whitney, what should we expect from you?
A whole bunch of shit. No, I've got a lot going on this week.
So are you posting on Facebook?
Yeah, I
Instagram?
mainly do on Facebook, and then I also, me and Neely do Make It Make Sense Alabama. We're on everything on that. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, which is about to add video, which should be huge. YouTube, all the things. We've got his name is Nolan Keel. He was what he alleges was wrongfully arrested in Foley, Alabama by the Baldwin County Sheriffs Department. We have all 3 angles of his body cam footage. We went a few weeks ago and did a sit-down interview with him. Neely and I recorded our portion where we actually watched the body cam footage in real time and provide some commentary. And then we also reached out to Sheriff Anthony Lowry to get his take on the situation. He was not the sheriff when it happened, but we wanted to provide him the opportunity to comment. And so he actually went back and he pulled the body cam footage that was available to him. I don't think he watched all 3 angles that we had. We did respectfully disagree with him on quite a few points. It should be a very interesting podcast that we release. I think it'll bring forth a lot of public commentary about what was lawful, unlawful, and everyone's perception on that. So we're hoping that comes out this week.
And you know who the new attorney for the sheriff's department is?
No.
Yeah, the guy that was Randy, the guy that was running the District Attorneys Association. So it's all very cozy.
Everything's cozy,
isn't it though? So one thing that I did want to point out, and Paul, you'll be interested to catch this one. You recently did a podcast with Rear Admiral Kent Davis about what befell him. And, you know, Paul and I have been to see a lot of department heads with the state of Alabama, and none of them did I leave feeling like, shit, I don't feel like we pay that guy enough. I think that was my comment. And
I love Kent Davis. Yeah,
man,
he
was a good one. And of course, we had to run his ass off. And
he was the best that VA veterans had representing them in the state of Alabama.
And then you want to talk about somebody that we ought to put in charge of the Alabama State Bar who knows what ethics means. He's my pick.
Kent Davis for governor. I'm telling you though.
Well,
I love that.
Whatever
man.
we can talk to some bitch into, really. I mean, he's like the only decent person I've ever met in Montgomery.
And even though they kicked him out of that position, all he did was continue everything that he's been doing in Mobile with veterans and other veterans groups. He didn't slow down one bit. So it just goes to show you he wasn't in it just to get a Friday paycheck. He was in it to take care of veterans. And
Absolutely.
it was Kay Ivey that stabbed the veterans in the back.
Just like she's going to do all of us with this PSC stuff.
Oh,
I mean, this
she
got nothing to do with consumer protection.
Oh, right before she goes out of office, she's going to pull out a bag of tricks that somebody has handed to her to read.
She just keeps bending us over.
Well, hey, look, everybody have a good week, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Now, wait a minute. There is one thing we probably need to mention. People need to be following. The House did pass legislation to close the primaries, which won't affect this election or the next one. But when we come to vote in, not 2028, but 2030, however you voted in the presidential, in that election, whichever primary you voted in, you're now registered as a member of that party. And 60 days before the 2030 election, you cannot change your party preference because of the blackout period.
Brandon, no matter who I vote for, I get Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how Israeli democracy works, but Bill Clinton is like, You know, I mean, that's so old news. I mean, you know, there's voters that were not alive when Bill Clinton was president.
Yeah.
And yet Bibi is still there running Israel.
Yeah, it's been a long, tough haul for him, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think he's running a little bit
You know,
too
I
much
mean,
above us,
this
too.
is like his fifth president that he's had to work with.
Or get blackmail and controlling
Yeah.
information on however we say it.
Hang on just a second, Whitney, after we sign off, okay?
Okay. Yes.
All right, guys, we all have a good week.
As a retired journalist, this is a very different perspective on a major world news event. This is my personal story as an American, a woman, a senior citizen, and a Christian who was suddenly in the middle of a war zone in the Middle East.
This was my view flying into Tel Aviv late Friday. I did not know the trip I had planned to visit historical and biblical sites in the country was about to change drastically.
At this moment, an alarm sounds throughout Jerusalem. Please proceed to the protected areas on the floor internal emergency staircase or the lower lobby. Please follow the instructions of the home front command. The use of the elevator is prohibited.
Our stay in the shelter was only about 10 to 15 minutes at a time, but the alarm was repeated about a dozen times during the day and night. At times, I could hear explosions outside. One member of our group captured this video on the way to the shelter area. It was Israeli interceptors destroying incoming missiles and drones. It's part of Israel's Iron Dome defense system. The war shut down all of the historical sites we had planned to visit, but a small chapel at the top of Mount Carmel, built for Carmelite nuns, was open. We were there when an alarm sounded.
Don't take this.
We sheltered there along with a Christian group from the Czech Republic. Despite the language barrier, they joined us in a praise song. The tour company arranged our evacuation by bus from Israel. We traveled south and crossed into Egypt at Aqaba. From there, we continued down along the Red Sea to a resort in Sharm el-Sheikh. We were there 2 days before flying to Cairo to await our return to the U.S. The extended time gave us a chance to see and visit sites including the pyramids of Giza and the New Egyptian Museum, which is the largest in the world. It wasn't the trip I planned, but it was remarkable in many ways, and I don't regret it.
Seeing our initial plans upended so quickly was frustrating, and yes, there was some anxiety over the uncertainty of what would happen next. But I was never terrified, and I don't think anyone in our group was. As a Christian group, we all had faith that we would make it home safely. The only thing that was terrifying for me was the camel ride at the pyramids.
There we go.
Okay.
So, Ms. Bradley, why don't you tell us your name and where you're from and a little bit of your background, please, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Pat Bradley. I'm Tom Bradley's widow. I've lived in Bay Minette and then have lived in the country for 40-something years. And I'm 85 years old, and for my age, I'm in real good shape. That's why I went to Israel because I was in good enough shape to keep up with the younger people. And I did take my daughter with me. She's 58, and I love living in the country. It's beautiful up here. It's called Blackshear. It's about 5 miles above Kensaw.
Yes, ma'am. So tell us about the group that you were with. Was it a church group or was it a secular trip, or how did you get up with this group?
Well, 3 years ago, first let me back up. My daughter and my son Tom are members of Redemption Baptist Church. It used to be North Mobile.
Yes,
ma'am.
They
changed it to Redemption. It's right on the interstate in Saraland. And so Tricia had let me know that 3 years ago they were planning a trip to Israel. I said, oh, I've always wanted to go. Well, I put my money down and then Hamas attacked. So I got all my money back, and thought, well, Tom Bradley always said he thought Israel was too dangerous to travel to. I thought, well, I guess he's talking to me from the grave. So then last year, Tricia let me know they were planning to try again. And the pastor is Ed Litton, and he's been to Israel, of course, many times. And he's a doctor in the ministry. He's a great, great guy. So I went to the first meeting, and that's when I asked Tricia, you want to go? And I said, I'll pay for you to go with me. And I was certainly glad she was with me because she was a lot of help. So there were 31 people that went from the Redemption Church. A lot of us were from Baldwin County, like Foley and Orange Beach. I know somebody from Satsuma. But there were a lot from Baldwin County that went. And we left, I believe it was 3 weeks ago today, on a Thursday. And of course, you know, we were ready for an exciting trip. It was more exciting than we bargained for.
I guess so.
And
so tell us about what your itinerary was. What were your plans? How long did you plan to stay?
We were going to be there 8 days because, you know, 2 days of flying. So, you know, that makes it 10. And we flew to Tel Aviv. And the first night we were going to spend the night on the Mediterranean, which is gorgeous, at a place called Netanya or something like that. And we hadn't been there 24 hours. We had enjoyed the buffet, and it was the Jewish Sabbath, so it was a lot of fun to be there with all the Jews celebrating their Sabbaths at this hotel. So anyhow, we hadn't been there 24 hours, and the preacher, Pastor Ed Litton, said, we got to have a Jesus meeting. So we had a little meeting after we had our nice meal, and he said Mike Huckabee is a friend of mine, and they've shut the embassy down. Bombs are going off, and we were like, "You got to be kidding!"
How long had you been in the country?
Said, just 24 hours, really, I guess. just got there, and he said, and furthermore, the Tel Aviv airport is closed. And like I said, we had just landed, you know, like 24 hours ago. Because, you know, you don't get much sleep when you're flying that far away. So then we knew we weren't just going to stay in this little town, Netanya. We were supposed to go up to Tiberias, up the Mediterranean, and tour there. But somebody... I guess told Pastor Ed that they thought it'd be safer for us to move on over to Jerusalem. Well, I'm not sure Jerusalem was any safer, but I want to tell you first, none of us were fearful. And let me back up. When we had our Jesus meeting, the preacher, the pastor said, what do y'all want to do? You want to turn around and go back home? And not a one of us in that group wanted to turn around and go back. Nobody. So we carried on. We made the best of a bad situation.
So you did go to Jerusalem?
We did. After we went up the coast, we came back down to Jerusalem. And we were never fearful. They were, you know, we were around bombs going off or missiles, as they call them, missiles. And we were at this real special place called Mount Carmel. And this was in the daytime, like morning, and they were bombing. And we were trying to enjoy the beautiful scenery and overlooking the city. And so we sheltered in this chapel. It's real old. I think the nuns used it many years ago. So we were sheltering in there as the bombs had gone off. And one of our members took pictures. Of course, you know, you're not supposed to stay outside when bombs are going off, really. She got some good pictures. Yeah. And then this was funny. The preacher, the pastor, was giving us a little sermon, and they had their music director from Redemption Church along, and he was great, beautiful voice, and he had some kind of small guitar. I can't remember the name of it, but he was a young guy. He was married with 4 kids, but he would sing and lead us in singing and play his guitar. And all of a sudden, in this tiny, tiny chapel, the doors opened, and Pastor Ed motioned for these people to come on in because they needed to be sheltered. And this was really a Jesus moment. They were Czechoslovakians.
Really?
And they had their, I think it was their minister with them. And it was a beautiful scene. It was women and men. And I guess they spoke Russian. But we were singing, of course, in English, and it was really uncanny. They started singing with us. And I was like, well, they have to know some English. Enough of them do. But their minister came on up to the front and wanted to translate what Pastor Ed was preaching to the group. And it was so beautiful. We were singing and praying and being thankful. And I had these Czechoslovakian women sitting by me, and I was just moved almost to tears because it was so special. That was one of the most special times of the trip because, like I said, bombs were going off, and none of us were really afraid. Isn't that interesting?
So you say bombs were going off. Were you hearing things hitting the ground, or were you hearing Patriot and Interceptor missiles taking off?
We were hearing them in the air. I think, what is it? Israel has that Golden Dome or whatever they call it.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think they were counteracting these missiles because we did see one blow up in the air, or either a drone did it.
Wow.
And of course, we had a great Jewish guide. He was terrific. And he said, if you see any coming from the ground, that's Israel. But if you see him coming from the air, that's Iran. Right. And I don't guess we were standing around outside very long because we weren't supposed to. And of course, when we were in the hotel, sirens would go off a lot. The preacher said maybe 15 times. And we would shelter.
Would y'all go down to the basement?
Yep. Yeah, you'd go to the basement. And if you were at nighttime in your bed, which I refused to do, you were supposed to get up and go on the steps, the stairwell, because the elevators would not work. And they had it like engraved in the wall in these hotels, which is sad about bomb shelters, because these Jews have to live so threatened. And it's such a sad way to live that you got to be used to bombs going off, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't want any part of any of that. So how many days did y'all spend in Jerusalem?
Well, maybe 3, because, well, we had to evacuate. All the Americans had to leave Israel. So
let me ask you a question. Did that come to your group from the State Department? Was that everybody out?
See, Ed Litton, the pastor, is a good friend of Mike Huckabee's, and I think he was talking to him while we were there. And
so where did you go from Jerusalem after you spent 3 days in Jerusalem? Where'd you go?
Well, first they had thought about Turkey, and then they ruled Turkey out. Then they thought about Jordan, and then they ruled that out because Jordan kept closing their borders, and we were taking a big chance to be bused to Jordan and not be able to get in. And I don't know which was the furthest, Turkey, Jordan, or Egypt. But our destination to fly out was Cairo, Egypt. So we crossed the border. It took all day to get there, and it was very chaotic. And I guess because of the bombing of the war, that it made it chaotic, I guess.
Did you go through
and we
Rafah?
had grenade. Excuse me?
Do you know where you crossed the border? into Egypt? Were y'all on a bus?
No, but yeah, a bus, and we were close to the Dead Sea because we could see the Dead Sea a lot of the time. And Renee Dials, in fact, she was on Channel 10 after we got home. She was a newscaster with Channel 10 years ago.
I remember
and then she
Renee,
retired.
black lady.
Yeah,
Renee
and,
Dials, yep.
yeah, she was very good, and she was on our trip. She was just a single lady, and there were a good many ladies that were by themselves on the trip. And so she gave a cute little video, a synopsis of our trip, and my daughter had sent it to me, and then it was on Channel 10, and then she gave more on Channel 10. And we were never fearful. That's what, nobody can believe that. I'm like, no, I was never scared.
So how many days in Cairo?
Maybe 2. See, we had to fly out at night. So basically, we weren't really there at night. We had to get on the bus like at 1 a.m. and drive to the airport. Maybe it was an hour to the airport. And then we flew Egypt Air to New York City. So we didn't have any long lines. The biggest deal was you had to keep your passport out constantly. It was like they didn't trust you.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's the way we felt. We got so tired of the passport continuously having it out and so forth and so on. But like I say, the worst part of getting out of Israel was getting into Egypt. They even got on to Renee Dials because she was taking pictures. And they pulled her aside like they were going to arrest her. Yeah.
Golly.
And so,
in Egypt at the border crossing, or
yeah, in Egypt, right when we were crossing the border, and like I said, it took a long time to cross the border. And so the secretary at the church was kind of our guide, besides Pastor Ed, and she told all of us, don't dare take your camera out or your phone out to take any pictures.
Interesting.
So I don't know why they were so particular about, no, you can't take pictures.
Well, you don't want to be mistaken for Mossad. That's for sure.
Yeah. And our tour director was out of Duluth, Georgia, and they're a big organization, and they did a fantastic job because I think there were 3 groups there when the war broke out.
Yes, ma'am.
And because we said we wanted to stay, they planned for us to go see the pyramids and the museum in Cairo. What was that? So we did that.
Interesting.
Are you there?
Yes, ma'am. So tell me, so you saw the Giza pyramids and got to do all that while you're there?
Yeah, I rode the camel.
The whole bit, huh? So
I did.
So any perspective on, like, do you wish that the State Department might have, like, revoked your passports ahead of time? Or, they could have thrown a monkey wrench into your plan somehow to keep y'all from being in harm's way. Anyway, I know we have to have operational security, but golly, I'd have been really upset if I'd have landed and the damn war breaks out, 12 hours later, unbeknownst to you.
Yeah, we didn't know. Of course, a lot of people said, well, Iran was threatening. And I wasn't even listening to the news, to tell you the truth. And also, when you've been in a war zone area like we were, you don't want to hear the news,
I bet.
When I got back to the United States, I didn't want to hear any news, nothing. And we didn't hear any news over there. They only had that British Airways, I think, and we didn't listen to it. But I don't think they could have stopped us I don't think they knew in time to say, "Oh, y'all can't go."
Right.
You know, that would have been putting the cart before the horse, I think.
Yes, ma'am. So, anyway, any insights about traveling there? Obviously, you went with a group, and the group kept you safe, and you stayed out of harm's way. Were there any casualties? I mean, obviously y'all didn't see any, or you'd have been inside instead of taking pictures. I would imagine.
I've told everybody we never even saw any military. You know, people say, "Did you see people with machine guns or whatever?" And I'm like, "No." I didn't even notice at the border crossing in Egypt if they had guns. I'm sure they did. But we did not see military. We'd certainly heard sirens going off. And I just think it's sad to live that way. And let me tell you, I would go back to Israel.
Really? Is it a beautiful place?
It is. It's very serene, and there's so much history in the Holy Land. I mean, we did get to walk in Old Jerusalem, although when the war broke out, the schools closed and the businesses closed. You couldn't open up. However, there were a couple of restaurants that we could go to, and of course the hotel certainly kept their restaurant going, and they had very good food. But we walked on the cobblestone streets where Jesus walked to his crucifixion. There was only one shop before we got into Old Jerusalem where you could buy something. And that's all. So we were disappointed that we couldn't shop in Old Jerusalem.
So did you go to the Dome of the Rock? Is that what you were telling me?
Yeah, I guess that's what it's called. You know, I told you we went to, what they call it?
The Western Wall.
Yeah, we went to the old wall. We saw a lot of the old churches, but you couldn't go in them because everything was closed. Yeah, you could just look. And I know when we were walking on the cobblestone where Jesus had walked to his crucifixion, our guide saw this church door open. So he said, well, we can go in. And so he walked over there, and this man came out just quite irate. Oh, no, we could not come in. So a couple of them walked in, and then they were chastised. Well. So, yeah. But, I mean, I was disappointed that I didn't get to do what I paid my money for.
Sure.
But I still enjoyed the trip. And like I say, oh, she's going to start barking. The food was good. She sees something out here.
I got one in
here.
The
food was good, and the people were very nice. And in Egypt they were nice, except at the border. But I guess that maybe they weren't supposed to be so nice. I don't know. But I did not care for Egypt. I had never wanted to go to Egypt.
Yes, ma'am.
So I mean, I've been there and done that, and I wouldn't go back. But I would go back to Israel. I've got to tell Tricia, ask your pastor if he thinks he'll do another trip. Now, of course, I know Larry Byers is doing one in November. Or I guess he is.
Assuming that we're not in a quagmire of a war, let's hope this thing gets wrapped up before then, right?
Right. And, of course, I know, and my husband, and most everybody, knows that Israel is subject to be attacked because they hate the Jews. And you've got so many Muslims over there, and you've got Hezbollah or whatever. Oh, and all those strange people. But thank you, God, we didn't see anything bad. Isn't that wonderful? And none of us had an accident. None of us got sick. And we did a lot of walking.
I bet you did.
And when we were in Egypt the first night, we stayed by the Red Sea. And I walked down there to it, and I thought, boy, this is a wide sea for God to have parted. But it was beautiful too. Now the Sahara Desert is just that. It's just desert. It's sand. And I didn't care for all that.
I figured that'd be kind of a spectacular landscape if you. Of course, I've never seen a desert before. That's one of the things that's on my list.
Oh, you want to go to Egypt?
No, I'd like to see a desert landscape somewhere other than the United States. You know, you can't see a desert landscape here without seeing a power pole, is what I'm getting at. They still got free range desert,
and along
so
there,
to speak.
You know, there are hills, and of course a lot of camels, but they make money off of the camels. And let me tell you, over there in those countries, they want the American dollar, or either mostly they wanted Visa or MasterCard, but they wanted your dollar. They like the dollar bill. Isn't that funny?
The whole world runs on that for now. The petrodollar is still the cornerstone of our economy, which is why 20% of the energy in the world not getting moved right now is kind of a concern. So did you notice the gas bump in the last 3 weeks? Or
my handyman had picked me up over there at the airport when we flew in. It'll be 2 weeks tomorrow that we flew in, and he told me how much the gas has gone up. He said it's ridiculous. The war just broke out, and the gas has already gone up, and I'm sure it's going to keep going up. Don't you think so?
I would certainly think so. Of course, I don't own Exxon stock, thank God. That might be a omission on my part, but yeah, I got out of after Enron, I kind of got out of energy stocks. I've got a long memory.
I can't remember what stock Tom had with those companies.
Well, Ms. Bradley, are you guys gonna have another one of these cutthroat bridge games that I hear so much about?
Now we play for fun. I'm sure your mother tells you we just have fun. We do. We have fun.
That's what I hear. A lot of drinking, a lot of carrying on. I know all about these bridge games. My grandmother used to host.
Well, no, we didn't do any drinking. In fact, your mother said to me, "Well, did I have the wrong wine?"
Yeah, that's a good question. But finding out what everybody likes.
When I got home, because it was Friday night, and the bad deal, you know, we changed the clocks the next day, which was exhausting. And then I got up. I go to Montgomery Hill Baptist Church here at Tensile, and I got up and went to Sunday school in church. And then I went down to Stockton Presbyterian Church for a little meeting on Monday. I went on to Mobile, and then I had bridge at your mother's house the next day on Tuesday.
You were big time jet lagged.
I was so exhausted I could hardly function the rest of the week. I was wiped out.
Well, we're glad y'all made it back safe. So tell us again who your outfitter was, the church group.
It was the Redemption Church at Saraland, and Pastor Ed Litton, or Dr. Ed Litton, is the minister. And
how many people were in your group? Do you reckon?
31.
31.
31.
And everybody was from Mobile and Baldwin through that church. Well, that's interesting. Well, I'm glad y'all made it back, and we're going to share this with our listeners, and I'm sure somebody's going to bug you about it in the near future as soon as we put this up.
Oh, well, now listen, this is funny. I went to Tom McMillan's service Saturday, and I was treated like a celebrity. You know, it was like, oh my gosh, we've been so worried. We've been praying. We want to hear all about it. And I'm like, really? I'm here at Tom McMillan's service. And then I did speak to our little church because our pastor wanted me to speak. So last Sunday, I spoke to our church to tell them what little bit I could tell them. And it was an adventure, and I'm serious. I'd go back. Although I'm not getting any younger, I'd still go back.
So you know who used to take trips to the Holy Land all the time and got them, don't you?
Now what?
Oh, Lud, my grandfather used to take.
Oh, did he?
Used to take grip. Yep. And it's funny. The place that they flew into to come here was actually Iran, which was very open society back then. You know, you'd have women covered up and all that kind of stuff, unless they were, I mean,
oh yeah,
there was a little bit of that, but it was very Western back then. Anyway, he recently passed, and then my aunt passed, and I had to clean their house out, and I found all these photos, and I was like, man, that looks like Iran. And I ran it through Google AI, and they're like, indeed, that is downtown Tehran. I was like,
oh,
okay.
Really?
Oh yeah. So that was an interesting find, and apparently he used to take trips so big out of that big mega church that he was in charge of up in Montgomery that they, like Pan Am, they would rent a whole plane and fly everybody over there directly.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Well, anyway, we're glad you made it back safe, and you know, tell Tom, and I don't know, there's only like 7 of y'all living up there in Blacksburg. Tell everybody I said hello, Peanut and all them.
Well, of course, Peanut's health's gotten real bad, but I always have somebody around here. My handyman came by this morning. He worked for us when Tom died.
Yes, ma'am.
And he promised Tom that he would take care of me. And Robert is 55, and he'll do anything for me. And see, that's good. He lives at Uriah.
Oh, really?
And it's good. It's good to have a handyman that's not too far away. Yeah.
Well, I come up there a good bit and go down Little River from Manic Bridge back to 59. That's a nice little float. So, and I can take my dog.
Yeah.
He don't have to worry about him drowning because it's only like 3 foot deep.
It's not deep. Yeah. Yeah. I knew that. Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure catching up,
I'll,
and we'll get this up, and I'll send you a link to your cell phone number. How about that?
Well, if I can figure it out.
Oh, you'll figure it out.
Because I'm not a high tech person. I have a high tech car. I don't know how to operate it. And my son says, "Mama, you need a new iPhone," and I'm like, "No," because I hardly know how to manage this one. But thank you, Harry, and I was glad to respond to your questions because it's worth going to Israel. It really is.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I plan to go one day. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we will talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Harry.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.